Am I visible and audible? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. On the very first day of presentation season, semester 2, I am going to deal with paper number 106, the 20th century literature to 1900, 1900 to Second World War II. And my topic is comparative study of Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby and Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises. These are my personal information. In table of contents, I am going to deal with these subtopics in my entire presentation. Introduction of the writer, about the novel The Great Gatsby, comparison, similarities shared by both the novels. In that point, I will discuss from both the aspects, similarities in the description of vices and similarities in the arrangement of characters, different perspectives and attitudes of both the authors, and conclusion. So let's begin our presentation with the introduction of the writer. F. Scott Fitzgerald, in full name Francis Scott Key Fitzgerald, was American short story writer and novelist famous for his depictions of the Jazz Age. His life period was from 1896 to 1940. Fitzgerald writes for the most part in terms of popular songs, cocktail parties, jazz age, and swanky cars. His novels reflect the bedazzlement of success. His style, like Daisy Buchanan's voice, may be described as full of money. Fitzgerald remembered as a golden boy of the 20s. His novel contained some of the finest evocative writing of modern times. F. Scott Fitzgerald, also remembered as one of the most important modernist writers, including Ernest Hemingway, as we have seen in the novel and movie of the Great Gatsby, also that how Fitzgerald depict the jazz age and cocktail parties, lavish parties, which Gatsby through every weekend, and also swanky cars. So that is how Fitzgerald became one of the most prominent writer of the 20th century. About the novel The Great Gatsby. The Great Gatsby is a third novel written by American novelist F. Scott Fitzgerald. This novel first published on 10th April in the year 1925 by Charles Scribner's son. It is set in Jazz Age, New York. The Great Gatsby vividly captures its historical moment, the economic boom of post war America, the new jazz music, and the free flowing illegal liquor. The book, considered a classic of American fiction and has often been called the great American novel. So, as we all know the plot summary of this novel, so I am not going into detail into it. After that, the novel Great Gatsby, which can be best compared with The Sun Also Rises by American writer Ernest Hemingway. So, The Sun Also Rises is a 1926 novel written by Ernest Hemingway. This novel explores a group of people who travels from Paris to Pamplona. On the surface, The Sun Also Rises is a novel about a love story between two characters, Jack Barnes and Lady Brett Ashley. So that is how we can also compare it with The Great Gatsby, because The Great Gatsby is also a similar kind of love story, and in The Sun Also Rises we can find this theme of love and sexual promiscuity. So comparison. In comparison, we will look from both the perspectives, similarities between both the novels and what are the contrast between both the novels. Similarities: disillusionment and lost generation of the 1920s, the pursuit of the American dream, meaning of love and friendship, and emptiness of a life without a purpose. So these are the similarities which can be found in The Sun Also Rises and The Great Gatsby, that in both the novels deals with the idea of American dream and also about the love and friendship. In The Sun Also Rises, we can understand that Jack Barnes and Lady Brett loves each other, but they do not they were unable to do kind of physical relationship with because of some kind of reason. And whereas in The Great Gatsby, we can also understand about the Daisy Buchanan's dilemma, that he cannot choose that with whom he wants to go, with Tom or with his past love Gatsby. So that is how meaning of love and friendship can be seen in both the novels. Then emptiness of a life without a purpose. That in both the novels we cannot find any kind of purposes and emptiness of life in all the characters. In The Sun Also Rises, we can see this emptiness of life through the character of Jack Barnes, while in The Great Gatsby we can see this emptiness of life through the character of Jack Gatsby. In the contrast, one major difference which can be found is the writing style of Hemingway and Fitzgerald. That Hemingway used very concise or short dialogue in his novel The Sun Also Rises, but rather very meaningful, while Fitzgerald used very descriptive writing and descriptive events, what happened in the past in The Great Gatsby. So that is how the major difference between the writing style of both the writers. Another major difference is that the overall mood and tone of both the novels. If we look from that perspective, that then we can understand that in The Sun Also Rises we can find the nostalgic tone, and in The Great Gatsby we can find satirical tone on the things by Fitzgerald. The Great Gatsby more focused on the roaring 20s, while The Sun Also Rises focused on the post-war lost generation. So, The Great Gatsby, as we have seen in the movie, more focused on the jazz age, flapper culture, and roaring 20s, while The Sun Also Rises novel focused on the post-war lost generation in 1920s. Another one major difference in both the novels is that in The Sun Also Rises, Jack Barnes is also the narrator of the novel and also the protagonist of the novel, and his unrequited desire with that he wants to be with Ashley Brett cannot fulfill. While in The Great Gatsby, the narrator is Nick Carraway and the protagonist is Jay Gatsby. So that is the concept of desire we can match in both the novels also. Similarities shared by both the novels. In first, similarities in the description vices. In first, very important is excessive alcohol consumption. In The Sun Also Rises, nearly Jack's friends are alcoholic. Whether it is a day or night, they used to drink. In comparison with The Great Gatsby, we can also understand that how all the characters drank all the time, whether it is a day or night. Because at that time there was a prohibition act in America, but still we can find these major similarities about the excessive alcohol consumption. Another important similarity to point out is the fact that both Hemingway and Fitzgerald also drank excessively, and that is why we can find this in their writings also about the alcohol consumption. So these are some important images which can understand about the despite the prohibition act, how they were used to drink as much as they can. That one image is from The Sun Also Rises, in which all the characters were consuming alcohol. The second one is sexual promiscuity. Both Fitzgerald and Hemingway portray the destructiveness of sex in their works to show the decline of moral standards. The most promiscuous character in The Sun Also Rises is Brett Ashley. Throughout the novel, Brett and Jack Barnes flirt a lot and they also kiss each other several times. In comparison, The Great Gatsby has promiscuous behavior in the form of adultery. Tom Tom Buchanan had several affairs since he and Daisy have been married. So this also is one important similarity can be noticed in both the novels. The power of money. The third parallel of vice in both the novels is that of the power of money. In The Sun Also Rises, Jack Barnes has an established bank account. He is able to live in Paris, travel in Europe, and enjoying his dining and drinking experiences. In The Great Gatsby, Tom Buchanan and Jay Gatsby are men of great wealth who has brought power. Tom has great control over Daisy, Martil, and George Wilson. Money brings nothing but false friendship and love. The more lasting and lofty pursuit should be richness of morality instead of money. So, the power of money is one of the important similarities that can be noticed in both the novels. But money is not everything because the way when the Jay Gatsby was showing his mansion to Daisy, and he feels that because of my wealth and my power of money, Daisy will return to me, and she will leave Tom Buchanan. But that is not happen because money is not everything. Okay, similarities in the arrangement of characters. The characters in The Sun Also Rising and The Great Gatsby have very similar traits. Characters that are similar and would be corresponding in both the books. So, according to the characteristics, I have differentiate the characters in that Jack Barnes and Nick Carraway both are the sorry, not protagonists but narrator of the novels. Brett Ashley can be compared with Daisy Buchanan. Robert Cohn can be compared with Jay Gatsby, and Mike Campbell can be referred as Tom Buchanan. So Jack Barnes and Nick Carraway both are the narrators, and they narrate the story from their perspective and their point of views. Lady Brett Ashley can be referred as Daisy Buchanan because Brett Ashley is a very independent kind of woman, and Daisy Buchanan is also independent, but she only interested in the wealth and material success, and that is why she married to Tom Buchanan. Robert Cohn can be compared with Jay Gatsby because they both are dreaming about their mistresses, and Mike Campbell can be referred as Tom Buchanan. Both stories are told through the use of narrator to comment upon the lost generation in the 1920s. It is reasonably clear that Robert Cohn and Jay Gatsby shared many notable characteristics. Both spent their days in dreaming of their mistress, and both share a love of professionalism and romance. Lady Ashley Brett is a strong, largely independent woman. She can only relate to having sex, while Daisy is in love with money, ease, and material luxury. Characters that are also similar would be Mike Campbell and Tom Buchanan. Though they have different social attitudes, but both share a mistreatment of their wives, as we know that how Tom Buchanan behave with Daisy. Different perspectives and attitudes of the authors. Hemingway wrote The Sun Also Rises as a direct rejoinder to The Great Gatsby. Hemingway's attack is not only personal but also stylistic and moral, whereas Fitzgerald's central achievement as a writer is to use all the resources of language to capture the magnificence of the moment. Fitzgerald's prose wants to move toward and even into celebratory song, while Hemingway's prose moves into total silence. So, this is the different perspective and attitudes of both the authors, Hemingway and Fitzgerald. In conclusion, by doing comparative study between Ernest Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises and Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, we can understand that the themes in both the novels are rendered with similar kind of approaches and themes. Both the works are created to voice the author's indignation against the First World War and the disappointment in the American dream, respectively. So these are my work citations, and now you can ask me.
Yes, my question is how the American dream is depicted in both the works, The Great Gatsby and The Sun Also Rises.
Okay. America, the concept of American dream in both the novels depicted very well. First, in The Great Gatsby, we can understand that from the childhood, Jay Gatsby wants very rich life, and since childhood he had a shame and guilt that he belonged to very small families, and that is why from childhood he had that kind of thoughts in his mind. So that is why he had done all kinds of he also gained wealth through the share market and illegal wealth or illegal uh, liquor of bootlegger, and that is why the concept of American dream can be seen in The Great Gatsby. While in The Sun Also Rises, through the character of Jake Barnes, he is also not able to do what he wants to do, and that is why the American pursuit of American dream and the m- morality, or not, we can not morality, but the destructiveness of American dream in both the novels.
Hetal, my question is that does the novel critique or uphold the values of the jazzes and the fears of the lost generation?
Yes, the novel criticized the value of the jazz age and the fears of the lost generation, because due to the jazz age or jazz music in The Great Gatsby, it encourages the younger youth in a very wrong way, and also in The Sun Also Rises, the lost generation of the 1920s. Through that novel, Hemingway also wants to tell us about the and fear of lost generation and disillusionment happened in both the works. Thank you.